Join me. Imagine what we could accomplish together.
I'll join the team, be an X-Man.
We are the future, Charles, not them.
What do you think, I'm stupid? You and I are not so different.
You can't keep denying what you are, man.
Because I'm the best there is at what I do.
You, me, we're exceptional. The power of the sun in the palm of my hand. I chose my path, you chose the way of the hero.
Plague, war, famine, morality doesn't even enter into it.
I've heard these arguments before.
Think about it, hero!
You are watching
Move, Throw,
a Marvel Crisis Protocol podcast.
I am Charles, also known as Omnus.
And I am Danny, also known as Irish Smart Like Rock.
What a rock star. What a rock star.
You just gotta roll with it sometimes, right? Believe.
Yeah. How do we do a follow-up episode after having Colin on? Like, I don't even know what we do now.
Well, you just don't try to match that high. You just go a completely different direction, right? We just completely leave that behind, in memoriam. This is no topping your best. You just walk on and try to find a new path in life.
Yeah, just gotta try another route. But just been really enjoying interacting with like all of the Muse crew. Just in general, they're just like, it's from a podcasting perspective, like the landscape is very different than where it was when like Move Throw started, right? Like Danger Room had basically totally different hosts, right? Well, Across the Bifrost had basically totally different hosts. Strike Better is mostly different, like 3 out of 4 of them left and they don't record as often. Alfredo's is recording less than what they did back in the day, right? Like the whole initial kind of podcast, has kind of like changed dramatically. There's a bunch of new shows out there, not like new, but like newer, you got like the Winnie Bannister and stuff. And like Lexa's not even podcasting anymore. So it just like the landscape is very different. And so, yeah, it's like, Muse is definitely like one of the things that I look forward to the most each week.
Yes. It is always good to look forward to things in life and have things that bring you joy, right? So it really matters.
Yep. 100%. So I remember I brought up like in the Discord and the stuff that I was working with the molds for the little pillars and stuff. Yes. I forget where I was at when I mentioned it on the show, but I did do it. And I made the mold and it worked reasonably well. And the first 2 batches are totally usable. But they had like more air bubbles in them than I would like. Enough where like it was actively visible on the outside and I was doing patchwork on some of them.
It was just like a lot of more work than you're looking for.
Yeah, it's not too bad because I was basically just taking the dimensional magic and like doing a layer then and just kind of just like let it fill fill those for the most part in the spots where I thought it looked weird. But then on my 3rd batch, so if you're a viewer or a listener and you've never made epoxy, you basically have 2 parts, right? Like a hardener and like the resin, and you like mix them together. And that's where you get a lot of the air bubbles that get trapped in that mixture. I mix with basically like a metal chopstick. Just because like, I just don't like buying shit tons of like popsicle sticks or whatever to stir them. And so like the 3rd time that I went to make the mold or like meant to make more of them, after I poured it in, cause I was realizing like this is like a really thick resin, right? And like, it's not, these pillars are just not that big, right? They're like an inch tall and maybe a 1/4 of an inch wide or something. So after I poured them, I like stuck the metal chopstick into the mold, right? Like after I had poured it, and it kind of like forces all the resin into the edges.
Yeah. And
then I kind of like finished topping it off. And even that actually like changed it. And I got significantly less air bubbles. What was so funny about that?
Phrasing.
We I don't even know what I said.
Yeah. We'll just go with it. Yes. So that's what happens kind of like the bigger stages. You want to do injections. You want to force the material into as many of the crevices as possible. And there's like multiple ways of getting air bubbles and stuff out. But that reaction is a chemical reaction, right? It is producing side effects. And sometimes those gases are what get trapped in the process, depending on what material you're using, right?
Yeah. And then, so since then, I have purchased a degasser as well. Like, not like anything too crazy, but just like a little, like, easy countertop
Means for the Vasher
one.
fam.
Yes. It's for after I have chili, actually. Get a little degassed. But no, and so the one I've got going right now, I haven't pulled this one out of the mold, but it's been in there for about 24 hours, but with the size of this, it doesn't cure particularly quickly. I think if I was doing a larger mold, like, because of the reaction process, it creates more heat, which then makes the whole thing cure faster. And the temperature has dropped a little bit the last few days. And so I'm not pulling it out of the mold just yet, but I'm really excited to see how, with the combination of, how I was now I'm just trying to like not mess up the phrasing and say something stupid. The chopstick mold process, and the degasser, and I'm hoping to see like what these turn out like, because I still have probably like half of my resin of just like this little purchase that was maybe $30-$40, something like that. And so I'm definitely getting a bunch of these for bases, which I'm super happy about. But I'm just glad this little project is going well and wasn't a huge waste of time.
Yeah, I mean, I think this process is always like a learning experience because you're working through the resins and learning through press molds. I think resin is a very fun like material to work with, but it can be it's hard when you make mistakes with resin because it's like yep, you start over. There's no going back sometimes.
Thankfully, I made a lot of mistakes with my initial resin stuff, like 8 years ago, something like that, where I definitely like didn't seal a mold well enough, so the silicone starts pouring out. I definitely didn't stir my first silicone mold well enough, and so it wasn't fully cured in spots. Like, definitely had stuff where like I didn't make enough and it was fast curing. Like, I feel like I've made a lot of the mistakes.
Slow process of learning, right?
Yes. Learned the hard way on many such occasions. But overall, just happy, like, because this was something that I think when a base looks boring, like the pillar is like one of my go-tos, but I had to be really cautious with like how, because I only had so many, right? And so there's definitely bases where I'm like, well, even if this character doesn't make a list a lot, so can I justify the extra basing stuff for something that I may not play very often? Let me lean towards the stuff that I'm going to play more. But yeah, so you've been doing any hobbying this past week? Oh, IR Smart.
My hobbying is that I've been rearranging my stuff in the scenes and going through it's summer, so it's time for cleaning time and moving stuff around throughout the house. So I'll slowly be rearranging things in the background here. But in terms of models,
since we were getting out props last week, I was like, let me put the shield over here. So I actually painted this bad boy back in the day, but I was like, you know what? Let me have my Marvel props nearby.
It's because there's more like projects and random things over here that are hiding in the background. There's also like another space, like a whole shelf thing where I have them like stacked when they're not being used. One, I think it's fun to just change things around, but two, I just think it's fun to be different.
Yeah. I got a question on organization and storage. As you can kind of see, I don't know how much of this will end up in the shot, but my models are on these shelves, but they're not like it's not like a sealed shelf, right? It doesn't have a door or anything. And I was curious how you store the models that are not in your bag, because obviously I still get dust and stuff.
Yes.
And
so I have glass shelves.
Okay.
That I store models for like long-term. Well, there's actually two ways. So if I want them on display, like I actually want to show them off for people like going around in my board game area and stuff. I have them in like glass cases that I will dust with like a soft feather duster stuff every once in a while. But it's like every couple months to go through. But those models don't move very often. Where I put sort of like the majority of models, I actually have like an extra like dresser drawer with like shelves. And I got from IKEA, there's like drawer dividers. So there's a bunch of dividers and sections, and they're organized by base size for MCP. So that's why I was like, okay, what size is the model? Go to that area, and then I can kind of figure out where the model is. And then I have sort of sorting with like tokens and stuff, and so the smaller-ish for those. And again, essentially, if you want to keep things minimal dust, like there's no dust, right? It's not ever going to happen.
Yeah.
You want like a semi-enclosed. It doesn't necessarily have to be entirely sealed per se, right? But the more exposure to more air, right, the more dust that's going to fall onto it, the more work you have to put into it.
Yeah.
The more touching and the worse it gets. But I think it's just for visual sake, it's just glass. Like it's hard to beat that. But again, you're going to be dusting because of glass anyway, so you dust the models and kind of go together. The one problem is that for recording, glass is terrible, right? Reflection,
right.
A bunch of other things.
I definitely was thinking, I'm like, do I want some sort of like, get like just a plexiglass panel that I can like stick on magnetically or something to just cover it when I'm not recording or something like that. But we'll get there maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it kind of depends on how visual you want it to be, because like you could get hinges, right? Like L hinges, and just attach plexiglass to it, just drill straight through, right? And just do washers. It'd be fine, whatever cares, right? But when you have it down, are you going to like the look of it? Because I like the open visual look, right? That's the thing. That's I like the, be able to pull things off the shelf, rearrange stuff. So like, yes. I do have some other things like plushies. So those plushies I feel are a little different because they can gather so much dust, is that I feel like I almost always want them enclosed because it becomes a nightmare trying to clean. I was like, well, I don't want to wash this per se, like in the big wash. And you do the hand wash, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, it's going to take some time to do all this.
Yeah, for my MCP and my Shatterpoint models, like because I don't have anything on them that I'm worried about the interaction with water. When a model looks really dusty and I want to go back, I literally just rinse it off. But I was trying to do that with like an old War Machine model that I was cleaning, and like it totally softened up all the snow, and like snow came off.
Oh, yes. It most certainly can, especially over time if any of the varnish is how to deteriorate over time. Especially if you so the flip side of glass, I should say, the warning here is that leaving models in UV sunlight is very bad. And will destroy their outer layers over time, right? So glass isn't protected. I mean, unless you get a really expensive glass, which you probably aren't for a display model, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Leaving things out to open sunlight will damage them over time and cause fadings, will cause enamels and stuff to break down. Which can cause, we're like, oh, I can pick this model, and then it's like brittle. You're like, oh, whoops.
Yeah, thankfully, I don't actually because I don't want sunlight fucking with the recording.
Yeah.
I have like, there's windows over here, but I actually have them kind of blacked out, and I have sound absorbing foam in them, so that there really isn't much sunlight that like gets directly on this stuff, and so like that part I'm not too worried about. Anyway, that was just kind of a random question. I was like, oh, I don't know how Danny stores
how I manage all this stuff, but yes, I try to do that for the smaller stuff, and then I try to do on some of the fancier bookshelves, I have like glass doors. Like it's wood, but like the door itself is glass. You can kind of see like the opening and stuff. I just feel like because you like books and things, you end up like wasted space because like you can't really grab a book from that corner. It's like an awkward position. Actually, you take out other books to get to a book. It's like, well, it kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, other hobby stuff. We'll kind of get to it in the next section, but I was getting kind of excited about playing Logan again. And so he was one that I had not updated to the current basing scheme. And so I was kind of updating his base and was getting kind of excited about playing him and like figuring out, I'm like, ooh, I bet I could do a better paint job on his jeans. And then I just hit this spot where I was painting him and I realized I was painting him in my Shatterpoint basing colors. And so I had to start over on like redoing the base. 'Cause I was doing it like multiple MCP and multiple Shatterpoint models kind of at the same time. And it just like, I'm getting old, Danny.
The wires.
Getting difficult. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it doesn't help that it's a color scheme you could see in a Shadow Point list.
Yeah, it's just like whatever bases. Okay, cool. My other like hobby thing lately is I've been trying to do a better job of so actually for like working on terrain, I bought like some cheap paint off Amazon. But they're in these like kind of long, tall bottles. And what I've ended up doing is like when I want to paint a model, I'll just stick the blue tack on the top of these cheap paints and then stick the model on top. And so like I'll have a bunch of models drying at any time. But that's gotten me in the habit now of grabbing a thing that a model is sitting on instead of the model. But I'm not in a mode where I 100% always have models attached to stuff. Sometimes I just set a model on top of something. And so I'm in this middle ground where I have not committed to one direction or the other, and it's making me nervous.
I mean, I guess you could always leave blue tack on the top of lids. And so every time you put a model on things, it always stuck on. Yeah. But it's like committing to the bit, right?
Yes. Well, yeah, it's just like, I also have just like a little space heater that I set up, and I don't necessarily run it with heat on, but I'll just have it in the air blowing mode, and I'll just put models that I'm like trying to dry or something in front of that. But sometimes to like these small models, I don't want them on the counter level. I want them up a little bit so the air hits them a little bit better. But then also I'll set a model on something, and then I try to pick up whatever it was set on, and
no bueno.
Yeah. Yep, gotta be more careful. But, let's talk some list stuff. How has Asgard been treating you? We talked just a little bit in the Colonation episode.
Colonation, such a great naming.
I wish I'd thought of that beforehand. That would have been a great. Well, no, because we're keeping it secret, so I couldn't have called it the Colonation. In retrospect,
like I said last time, I think Asgard is very fun. It's just hard to know what to do, what changes to make to the list, not knowing changes coming in the future. Because it feels like, well, I'm just sort of chasing my own tail right now, right? Like, I don't really feel super committed to any one direction because I don't know how things are going to change.
Yeah. Plus, so at least with Asgard, right, you're probably not expecting like significant rules changes. Like you'll probably see some health, but it seems like most of the Asgard stuff kind of does what it should do. Like there isn't anything drastically overpowered, and like at a core, it seems like the models do cool stuff. So it's just probably health adjustments where they need them. So at least the actual process of playing the models is the same.
Yes. I'm very curious if some of the throws change in costs, because there's a lot of like size 4 terrain throws and changes. If they decide to make changes to that sense, like, hey, we're going to lower the size and the cost and just make it easier to throw. It's like, well, you don't get as many big throws, but they're more often.
What I would worry about with that is that's a whole lot of models to review. Right? Like if they were going to actually change the cost of throws and like reevaluate everybody who can throw terrain and go, well, is this the right cost now factoring in the new terrain rules? That probably results in actual like playtesting of all of those different models to make sure that they're not breaking anything. That does feel like a lot. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it, but that
sure.
Is a lot. Is a lot.
I feel like during the testing of throws, they had to at some point considered the current throw scheme, right? And how like throws and everything, and had a consideration for it. And so I wonder if this maybe was something they've been wanting to do, but didn't have the opportunity to. But if you're updating it, so there's like a fairness thing. It's like, oh, well, some models get updated and have, quote, a better throw than others. Like, well, what if you just sort of rebalance how throws work real quick across the board, considering they unilaterally just changed?
But on the flip side, so if I were to play Mephisto's advocate, we'll say.
Let's go with that, yeah.
Dude, that could be a segment for us. Mephisto's
corner.
Mephisto's
musings.
Mephisto's advocation.
Okay.
By the way, so lightly MCP, I'm going to totally derail for just a second. Sin, the co-host of Rarely Reserved, had sent me a message the other day because she was painting, because there's the new Marvel set for Magic the Gathering. Yes. And so for her staff, she was doing like custom, like she's doing the art for like painting onto Magic cards for a card of their choosing. And the first one she did, and she was like, do you know the card, Chains of, Mephistopheles?
Mephistopheles? Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, like the weird thing is that card is a core memory for me because I remember my first time going into this card shop in my hometown after I got into Magic. That was like a coin collector's shop, but they did baseball cards and stuff. But they had a bunch. It was the first time I saw singles for sale for Magic the Gathering. And I remember looking in the case, and that was the first time I ever saw that card. And so that card is a weird, like, core memory for me. But she did, like, this Ghost Rider version of it. And I was like, I don't even care about Ghost Rider that much, but that card is dope. I'm
sure many people care about Ghost Rider for a long, long time. Like, he has some cool background stories.
Yeah.
But, man.
Like, I don't dislike Ghost Rider. I'm just like, I'm not, like, actively like, oh, Ghost Rider is one of my favorite characters. I'm not crapping on him. I don't want like every Ghostbuster fan to be like, fuck Omnus.
Well, the fact you call the Ghostbusters the best part there?
I mean, if it was a Ghostbuster, that would be way cooler. Yeah, if you did a crossover with Ghostbusters, I could get on board. Anyway, so our Mephisto's advocation corner, the argument I was going to make is that there's obviously a desire to tone down the power level of throws, where I think they've realized that throws, even just terrain throws, are really powerful. And one of the more powerful abilities that they give characters and probably has a larger impact on the game than maybe they originally intended in like their very first testing. And because obviously they also would like people to not feel like they have to take brace all the time. And so I think there might be also a general like, hey, having a throw is already pretty good. Let's not go through and cheapen them. What do you think about that argumente?
It's like a design philosophy question more than anything. The first question would be, hey, are throws still too good even after the change? Right? Do they still fulfill that same goal of being too powerful? Or they hit the right power curve? And now you're sort of nuancing and tweaking it per model, right? Because some of the throws are a little expensive. Especially like the size 4 terrain throws. And you're like, okay, I'm paying 3 for a building. A little hard, right? To go through that. I don't get as much benefit as it used to. So I don't necessarily think all throws get cheaper, but I think there could be consideration for some of them being readjusted. Because to your point, I think throws do a lot at once, right? There's displacement, there's the damage, there's potentially damaging another model.
Yes.
So a lot of things happen or there's throwing stuff into them, right? So there's a bunch of stuff that could happen. So I don't say I want throws out or completely restricted. I just think there's a couple models where it'd be interesting for them to be a little different design space or a little change to how that throw works.
Yeah, for the most part, I think I'm fine with all the terrain throws and stuff essentially staying the same. But I would be potentially on board for everyone who has the self throw who was a size 3 character. Like Apex, Thor 2, Tigra's got buffed, so she gets like a bonus damage on it or whatever, if I recall. I'm trying to think who else has
BP?
No, but he's just a size 2 anyway. It didn't affect him. So the pounce for like him and Gamora, I was trying to think of anybody. Werewolf by Night.
Yes.
Has it as well. The people who are throwing themselves and it was costed according to them being a size 3 character, I think all of those could either go down a power or you give them a bonus damage on it.
Oh, it'd be so good. I mean, the thing is, I'd actually rather they get a bonus damage and go the other way and be like, I want the big bad character to be big and bad and scary. I want it to be like, hey, they're not throwing, they're like launching themselves at you. So it's less like, hey, they're throwing a car at you and like they're trying to punch your face in. It's like, okay, I can see what's going on here.
Yeah. Well, I'll be like, outside of Thor 2, but I'm like, post the nerfs that he already had, I think you could I think it's fine. I mean, he's not seeing much play anyway, right? And so if his throw at least did the 4 damage and like Werewolf by Night not seeing much play anyway could do 4. And I think it's really sad for Apex. I do think Apex is one of like a really interesting designed 4. And so I don't think that that's a necessary negative that he should suffer. But those I definitely would love to see an improvement on.
Yes, Apex was a lot of fun when I was playing Weapon X. Like, he's just someone who send like every time I played him, I was more impressed with him. I was like, good buddy. Just keep getting in there, keep fighting. You'll do something cool eventually.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, I definitely like fucking loved playing just like X-23, Apex, Logan. Oh my, that is a fun trio of characters to play.
Well, I feel like you're not as afraid to take punches because it's unless they truly spike, right? Then you're like, I'm probably fine going into the next round. I have prio, just generate, just punch in and keep going.
Yep. So back to the Asgardian stuff. Have you made any adjustments to the list? Or are you just kind of like riding with things as they are for the moment?
I switched back in Scourge or Warriors 3, not because I necessarily believe one is better than the other, but because I just wanted to play some Scourge and try out the fancy Axeman. I still think he has some weird interactions with the bleed immune characters that make his spender a little sad. But it's just another model that I can just like try to chop heads off and be relatively tough. And I just like, I have a soft spot for Scourge. Is really what it comes down to more than anything.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. That's why I'm very curious about some of the changes. Like the character I truly want changed is still Heimdall, right? Like he's just, in a world of melee fighters, he's a very unexciting melee fighter.
Yeah,
he's just like there.
I feel like his reroll mechanic could just cost 1.
Yes.
And I
wish it was like a witty banter. Like he spends 1 to reroll. Like he's just like he's helping people out, right, and just going through.
Well, I even think if him rerolling 2 dice, I think 1 power for
like
the
he
2
just
dice.
is the all-seeing.
Like, yeah. Like would it really be like even when he was being played in Steve 1, it wasn't broken, right? Like nobody was saying like, "Oh, this combo is patently unfair." Like it's fine. Like
for a 3
that just makes me go like,
wouldn't be bad, right? Because it kind of puts sort of like where you're committing a decent amount of points to doing this, but it gives him a role that it's like a range thing, right? Where he doesn't need to do something to help other people out. And he's like, okay, now I can go do something myself.
Well, and he already like has a little bit of a problem generating power anyway, so it's not like a wildly like crazy thing, and it's not like he's handing out more rerolls on average than Zemo. You know, man. Maybe it was. Well, now we're getting like really theory crafting, right? And now it's kind of. I wish it was more like Loki's, where it's like the person pays for the reroll, but he gets the power. They're like, "Hey, Heimdall, can you help me out?" And they're like, yeah, sure." What if it costs Heimdall 1 power and the character receiving the rerolls 1 power?
Oh, that'd be interesting. It's sort of like a transfer. But like, I just think, I think you're correct in using the theory of he is the all-seeing. Like the whole point of this character is that he can see everything, right?
I mean, I think he has a really cool sculpt. I really liked my paint job for him. I think having characters who interact really well with pay-to-flips is also interesting because he can reroll pay-to-flips and stuff too. I think it would be fine if that ability cost 1.
Yes. Well, it wouldn't get a buff in Steve 1 because it'd be like 1 cost is like, oh, well.
Right, yeah. Like,
so that's
doesn't
good.
affect the Steve 1 list at all.
It gives you like a round 1 you can walk, grab, and like buff someone if they walk and attack. You're like, okay, you can still do something to help people out and play defensively. Yes, I could see that. I think Forfend is fine, like the counterattack and everything. I don't necessarily think it's like hard buff. Is he already a 6'6" or is he a?
I think he's a 6'5". Yeah.
But 3s across the board, it's fine.
You could, as a trade-off, also make his builder a gainer. Like, let him use some of his innate power, so you're kind of like capping the maximum amount of rerolls. I think something like that I would also be fine with. But yeah, if he just on a core level, like, actually got to like do a decent amount of rerolls, I think that would be a super fun, and I think it would be really helpful for Asgard, who like really feels like it wants some dice consistency. Yeah. I think it hits on all notes. I love that. I love that change. Danny, you're so smart.
Just trying to, because the thing is, I don't necessarily want characters to just be like all broken power scale, go out the window, burn everything. I want characters to fit their theme, and I want them to make sense for what the character is supposed to represent. And I feel like using some fancy, not time rewriting powers, but before they happen powers, right? You're like, hey, watch out.
All right. Well, before we get into the main topic, I wanted to shout out Vodka Blitz, who had came and commented on the Discord after the bonus episode, where it was kind of, I actually had a fair amount of comments about my not flushing, griping the storm nerfs. I actually got a bunch of comments in a bunch of different Discords. And it's mostly just like, I want X-Men to be in a solid place. And Vodka was like, hey, actually, with the existing crisis changes, like, this might be the best that Storm has been in a long time. And I was like, it was already on my brain, right? Because it was falling in lines with the discussion that we're having, where I'm like, I really enjoyed playing Storm. I liked the way her leadership made me think. I like the tactics cards in X-Men. There's a lot of characters I like in X-Men. Do I just go back and give them another go? And I was already wanting to play pay to flips with Sentinels. I want to play more Omega Sentinel. Omega Sentinel is obviously good on pay to flips. So one of the places my brain was going was X-Men, but it just has been a sore spot. And so it's like a little, like, I need a little X-Men therapy, right? Maybe I need to like see Jean, and like help, work through some problems.
Get the street going, conversation ahead. Everything will be fixed later. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Anyway, I just really appreciated the conversation with him. He shared the list that he was working on. And wasn't particularly excited to play more Blue Marvel, but I can concede that point. But like, the rest of the list has got some cool stuff in it. And so I'm thinking about like making a couple of small character changes for stuff that I'm excited to play that I think works well in there. But yeah, I think I'm gonna try to put Storm X-Men on the table again and see how it feels with some of these, new cool characters, and play some more Omega Sentinel.
Good X-Men. I'm not gonna say that they're not good X-Men characters.
Emma's fucking great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like so interesting how this is gonna break down a little bit here. I think Shadowcat is very good, and she's a very fun character. I like Kurt, the Girl Nightcrawler. Like you were talking about Logan earlier, very fun character. He's not a every time character is the issue.
Yeah, and that's where I was like, why I was working on the basing. I kind of, because we were talking about it in the episode, man, if X-23 and Logan get any more health, I am so fucking excited. And so I was like, all right, well, let me build up some excitement for myself, make sure I get the bases and stuff finished, put them on the table and kind of see how they start feeling. And that'll give me a good idea of, who knows when we'll have this errata exactly, but, it seems like something that I could have a lot of fun with. And, yeah, and I'm hyped about it, but like Vodka made some really good points, and it was, go ahead.
I was say there's some future X-Men too, because I think we saw Forge a while back, and there's a couple other ones still coming. So like, there's still a future thing.
Multiple Man ever X-Men? He's on the.
I think he was at one point. I mean, one of him, one of Janie. Yeah. He was
one of the multiple mans.
Yeah.
But Havoc is coming. Havoc was X-Men for sure, yes. Right? And
so, I think there'll be some other toys. Jubilee hasn't come out.
Right.
So there's a couple other ones that are coming through. So I think it'll be interesting to change, because I'm very curious to what they're going to actually be like for the list.
Yeah.
And how they changed. Like, maybe we saw Jubilee, but I don't think we saw some of the others.
But yeah, so just shout out to Vodka. I think he had some really good thoughts, and sometimes the community can be like so negative about X-Men that it makes me not want to play them. And so I do think that like him coming and like, hey, this is how my current testing is going right now. Really, because I kept looking back and I'm going, am I willing to do this? Or am I just putting myself through pain and suffering again? Right? Like, am I just punishing myself by wanting to do this? And like having Vodka be like, no, actually this could be the right time. You know, this could be a good direction. And so that's where my heart was anyway. And so I think he helped me get over some of those, nerves about putting them on the table and potentially being disappointed.
Well, this is why it's so hard for me to sort of commit to what to change or put in the list, is that health bumps or minor power adjustments or like gainers to builders or the other way around can radically change certain characters, which I think changes 100%. The mental model for some of these leaderships. Like Storm went absolutely bananas with Red Skull too. Right. It is just being able to trigger certain things, but I don't think Red Skull is the only model to take advantage of it. Right. There's lots of models that you can use, especially like large base models. They can use to hop over and do certain things where it's like, oh, this now works or makes more sense, or this model has a role now, right, that we can accomplish with. The whole point of Blue Marvel is like you have like a long range gun, like it's the old Scarlet Witch thing. It's like, hey, if you have a range 4 gun that can't move, Storm is the list that'll help you move. But yeah, 100%.
Well, that was my last. I mean, I guess technically I actually won my last game with Storm X-Men. And I was like, the idea is like, oh, I want to try Storm in the source extracts. So you're more likely to be able to utilize the jump, right? Because the extract reset every round. And I put Blue Marvel in. I was like, Blue Marvel's real good. Probably good with a hop, you know? But Lexa spent the whole game against me being like, I am going to try not to give you the hop. And like kept displacing, we went through this whole journey of like doing everything we could to try to manipulate his positioning. But yeah, overall, I'm excited about it. So I kind of got like, I think I have like 12 or 13 characters on a tray, just kind of touching up some of the basing, so I can like make sure that it's all ready to go. Maybe get in a game on Thursday or something. But I'm excited. I like the Crisis selection that Vodka had picked out. So yeah, might be X-Men time for me again.
I think when erratas and new scenarios and a bunch of things change, it is the time to play the stuff that you love, because I think it is a good opportunity to play something that you know you're comfortable or familiar with, even though everything else is different, because you kind of know how to pilot that and work through and see how things could change for you in particular, which is a good basis for trying things out. But 2, just play what you love. Who cares, right?
All right. Main topic, not a huge main topic, but wanted to talk about what we think is the kind of optimal way to do errata. And so, because we're like right on the edge of this, right? And this is probably the biggest errata that MCP will have ever had. But like also today, I've been dabbling in AOS. And so I read the second AOS errata since I started playing in like February, right? So I've only been playing for like 4 or 5 months. I've only played 2 games. And this is the second errata. And this errata, basically, I lose at least maybe not a tenth, at least like 5% of my army, maybe more.
Always good.
Like, because of the point adjustment. So, and I just think, just being in a spot where I'm in the process of painting a whole bunch of stuff and then literally have my list change. Where like, I can't fit the stuff that I was painting all in a list together. And I have to figure out what does that look like for a whole new list, which I'm not sure. Like,
change the models, right, or the weapons, or any. I know, like WYSIWYG is way different now. It's just like, man, it's just like it hurts me partway through an army and like it changed. You're like, but I'm not done yet. I want to be there.
Yeah, and so that's a difficult pill to swallow because I've never played something from them before, but like I appreciate they will want to actively balance the game. Right. Yes. Like I appreciate that. But I'm also like, the faction that I own is good, but it's not dominating the tournament scene. It's doing reasonably well. It is in one of the good affiliations, but it's like not crushing all the tournaments. There's other things doing better. And just going, well, like, okay, I get that this stuff was good, and maybe this is the right point total, but like, how does it make me feel? And does it make me unmotivated to finish painting and play more? Versus like the AMG model, where we've got this more of kind of like yearly cycle, but they don't touch threat very often. And they don't touch, I've argued that I want them to touch affiliation lists and like subtract things from affiliation lists, but I'm also looking at how I feel right now about my AOS team and going, I can't play the list that I was trying to paint. And that, right. And that is a thing that affiliation lists could also do. So that's kind of where I wanted to go with this topic of like, what do we think is the right way? Cause we also played War Machine 2.0, right? Which didn't really do anything errata wise. And the meta was like the meta, and you could things were largely the same for years, just factoring in new releases. And so where do you want to start with this? What's your first thoughts?
Boy. Where I would like to start is the conversation about the multiple releases a year, multiple updates a year. So I think this was not a thing, right? Many, many years ago. Most companies did not update multiple times a year, or like rules updates. Usually there's sort of big bang and stuff. I think this started happening more often in the past probably decade, where you had multiple releases and updates more often. I just feel like in a general sense, tabletops in general are just sort of a bad format for multiple updates. And the reason why is that there's the hobbying aspect is sort of the issue of the barrier, which we kind of get at, is there's a lag time between you getting rules updates and then assembling and painting models and playing them, right? Forget even painting them, like just assembling them, putting them on the table. Like, yes, you can argue about TTS and everything, but that's not the purpose of playing miniatures games, right? The purpose is to play toys. So I think
I got to be able to taunt my opponent in person, Danny. I want to look them in the eyes and tell them they're a miserable piece of shit and their dice are too good.
I mean, yes, that is 100%. The dice is way too good. But it kind of puts this like pressure where it feels like you need to play the best in a way, because if you're not, you're sort of wasting your time. Because you're like, oh, I'm going to paint this, it's going to be bad anyway. Or if I don't play this good stuff, it's going to get nerfed later. So I might as well play it while it's good. And so you have this like weird psychology effect starts happening. And it's like, well, I have to play to win, because if I don't, it's just going to get changed in a couple months anyway. So I'm going to go back to losing. So I might as well play it while it's on the upswing. And then you get into like the weird dichotomy of like chasing meta. And that's like, I can't.
Well, it might even be like, if you like how a model looks, right? If you're just like, I think this is a cool looking model, and it just got buffed, you're like, well, should I do that right now? But like, so even I was looking at the stuff that changed, and I'm like, a couple of things that I don't own went cheaper, and I'm like, should I be painting that stuff? If I get that stuff and paint it, will it even like maybe then it gets nerfed by the time I get more than a couple of games with it or something?
That's how you sell models.
Yeah, I mean, but that's also, I'm like, is this even a game that I want to significantly invest in when I know that I'm playing multiple games? I know that I'm not going to get to like actively play this a ton. It might be, even if I do like continue playing AOS, like it might be a thing that I play a couple times, a month or something, not anything crazy. And I'm like, do I want to be managing that? Like, obviously it's good for content creation, right? Having like the game constantly change like every 3 months. But from a play perspective, that shit's hard to keep up with, Danny.
Bring up a very excellent topic that we didn't really consider, is that from a media communications news stuff, it is better to have more frequent updates, because it kind of seems like your game is alive and supported, because there's this whole, I wouldn't say modern, but like semi-modern thing where like if game isn't being actively updated, supported, it's a dead game, and why are you even playing it and not supporting it? It's like, it's just only been like a year and a half, man. Is it that long since update?
Yeah. But
I think this question is like, what is the right path. I think the multiple times a year runs into the problem of you don't get enough game data really to feel like, is this good? Are these balances making sense? Because how many tournaments are people like big tournaments, like regionals in a year? 3, maybe 4, right? Like actual travel, right? Stay a couple days and go through. Like, I don't think most people are doing more than a handful and a quarter. And that most would put you at like a dozen, right? And that'd be a lot. That's a lot of travel.
Well, I think it's also, I consider myself a veteran wargamer. And then, like, I get that games need to be balanced, right? But, like, but imagine what it's like for a new person. Like, if I wasn't a veteran wargamer and I just got into a game and it was being changed, like, every 3 months, and I'm trying to, like, get stuff painted, like, that feels like it could just be awful. But, like,
here's the actual bad user experience. The actual terrible user experience is you go to the game store, you bring all your fancy toys, you're excited to play, you go get your opponent, and they say, that's not how your shit works. And you're like, what do you mean?
Well, you literally can't play that list.
You literally can't, you can't play the list. Like, what? You're like, oh, that's not a legal list. Like, what do you mean? I just put it together. Yeah, it says in the rulebook, the rulebook's wrong, actually. This is what the online rules. Like, what?
Yeah, that rulebook was right 2 weeks ago.
Says I can do this, but you're saying the internet says I can't? What the fuck are you talking about, man?
Yeah. Well, and that's where, like, I think quarterly updates, which is, I think, the system, right, is, I think, quarterly. And, man, quarterly feels like a lot. Like,
like on one hand, I see the logic in it in a way where it's like, there's going to be updates, there's going to be bounce changes. I have to imagine they're not completely sweeping changes, and it tends to be a lot more adjustments or small things going through. I remember the 40K ones, right? But it's still hard when you lose parts of your list, or things that you were excited to play are now bad. And now you're encouraged to take other models and some bunch of stuff. And it's like, hey man, what if I want to try another list? Right. And go through stuff. Now it's like, I have these huge commitments. Like, when do you buy the cycle? Do you start timing you purchasing armies to cycles? Right. And it changes like your interaction with this game.
Yeah. So I do want to like try to give it a more MCP focus. I feel like we've been talking about the Warhammer way of doing things. And I was like, my gut is, with being very new into it, I don't think I like it. But like, there definitely has been points in MCP's history where I wish things got touched a little bit sooner. And then by the time things got touched, I don't think they needed to be touched. So it's a weird thing. Like, by the time Valkyrie got nerfed, she probably was just fine.
Yes. I mean, you see this with a couple models. Like, Sam got touched a million times, right? It's hard to know where to draw the line sometimes, right? Because I feel like on one hand, they want to release models, see how it goes through. They're like, well, maybe it's not as bad as we think, or maybe this isn't as egregious, or maybe they just straight up missed, right, interaction, right, and playtesting. They're like, ooh, is this as bad as people think it is? And kind of going through, because it's sort of like the noise, right? But the flip side to that is that there are models that are legitimately egregious and that dominate the meta, very clearly are dominating the meta. And it's been like several months now, and you're sort of like, hey, I think we all communally agree this is a bad idea, but there's no response. So I guess the question would be like, hey, would you want in lieu of updates and stuff, would you want them sort of acknowledge or say like, hey, these are going to be updated, or we're going to address these things as like an acknowledgement, like with that sort of like smooth over, I guess, things?
I mean, yeah, I'm definitely pro communication. If that's something that they can do with the Asmodee and Disney relationship, if they could just be like, have the social media team just be like, hey, we're aware of the situation with Defenders right now. I just want all of you to know it is on our radar. We are keeping track of things. We don't want to react too soon. I mean, I'm pretty sure it is, but I do think it would be nice for people who are not as used to this sort of thing to hear it, right? Or to like see it and just be like, we're looking at this, and this is on the radar.
Well,
but
it's kind of like the sports commission thing where it's like, even if you're not going to call a ruling right now, at least you're like, yeah, okay, we agree.
Yeah. We're looking at the tush push, we're examining the tush push. But I don't feel like 3 months is enough time to let a meta settle. Like,
No,
I don't think that's
feels
enough
so fast.
time necessarily to solve a meta. And we saw this in the War Machine community so many times where there were lists that existed and were possible for a very large extended time period that no one realized were great. And then all of a sudden someone brought it. And I was like, you could have played that list last year and just nobody did.
Yes.
It wasn't new models. It wasn't errata. It was just someone realizing, actually, that's pretty fucking good.
I think this also happens when you have lists that it's like, I guess the way to phrase it, like the meta doesn't exist yet for this faction, where it's like the game they want to play, the rest of the affiliations don't play in the way that would cause this to happen. But with scenario changes, new leaders, you're like, oh, the game has shifted enough that I can play this sort of like cornerstone and like do well with it.
Yeah.
And just sort of come in. It's like the dark horse factor, right?
So Mephisto's advocation to my own thoughts. I do realize we have TTS now. And so that's different than the War Machine days where like it took a while before like even Vassal was getting used to any significant degree. And so when something is good, it could proliferate a lot faster than what it would 10 years ago. So there is that.
It's like a double-edged sword is the problem with TTS, right? Because TTS, you kind of have to put it into its own box in a way. One, I don't think the vast majority of players actually use TTS. I'd be hazard to guess half players even use TTS.
The vast majority of people don't go to conventions. The vast majority don't go to the game store.
So I generally take in. Well, I wouldn't take event data from TTS. That's not true at all. But I prefer the in-person event and the actual showing up because part of it is like who's willing to put the time and effort in. And those are sort of the opinions I care more about than anything, right? Because it's like, hey, you're willing to spend money, you're willing to travel, you're willing to like dedicate time, right, to this game for a period of time. So clearly, like, you're committed on some level, right? Like, something's happening here. And so those are the opinions I feel like I care about and want the most versus the thing about the internet is that you don't know where someone's coming from. So you have no idea what their relationship with the game or like how often they play or if they just play with like their own friends or if they play like just there's so many factors that go into decisions, right?
Well, like we have Blake locally, right? He was on our WTC team. He plays foes a lot and he fucks people up, right? Like you think you're like, oh, he's playing foes. This is going to be an easy win. And then you're like, you don't realize you're actually playing against one of the most practiced Spider Foes players potentially on the fucking planet. And, you know, and like you go to a convention or whatever and you're just like, I've never had problems with Web Warriors. And then you get Ryan Farmer who only plays Web Warriors. Right. And, you know, it's a different world when you get out there and you are playing games. I'm not trying to be like harsh on TTS, but it's just like, sometimes it's hard to predict what a convention meta is going to be because some people want to come and they want to show off the team that they painted and they just have an obsessive amount of practice with that team. And you've never played against someone who's practiced that faction as much as this person has.
The example for everyone else is like old grandma at blackjack. You're like, oh, I'm with her. Like, I'm just following whatever she does. Like, I trust completely in this lady.
Yeah, we're gonna roll with her.
You think she'd roll with it? No. She'd roll over everyone and watch this.
So, do you think this... All right. Oh, let me back up. I'm going to ask you a different question. Fuck the question I was going to answer.
Let's go.
What do you think about a massive hit point adjustment in general? Do you think that's the kind of errata that we want, that we need, that will make Omnus storm some motherfuckers? What do you think?
My internal fear is that it'll go over well at first, like, hey, people are tougher and everything, but because lethality hasn't really been changed, it just means certain models actually just win more. They get more power. They're able to go through the people like, hey, actually, I can kill threes just as easily as before, and now I get an extra power or two out of it. Like, awesome. This is great. right? And so I feel like there's certain lists that just don't even get affected by having an extra health or two on characters. They're just like, yeah, okay, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to me. I have the same game plan. Who cares? And then you have other lists that are like fundamentally changed because like the Fury health thing is so.
I want to pause there on what you.
Please, yeah.
To put it in another way, imagine that Red Skull 2 or whatever, or Nick Fury usually overkills something. By 1 or 2 health. And so suddenly they are still consistently killing the stuff that's out there. And so then it just goes, oh, now actually there's just a whole lot of killer characters that you just don't even consider because they don't average these numbers, whereas this small selection does. Is that kind of what you were pointing
and
out?
I worry that some characters are going to be eaten good, fam. Right? And it's not, and you'd be really surprised. You're like, oh, this isn't what I wanted at all. And it's going to be, I fear it's going to be like an awkward scenario where you balance towards one thing, but a different result is what you get. And it's like, ooh, this could potentially be bad. I feel like certain characters who have gainers potentially lose a lot. Right? Because like with more health, the people who have builders have potential to gain a lot of power, use cool powers. People with gainers don't get any elasticity. Right? They have a very flat power curve, and it's like, okay, well, their power curve isn't changing at all, but other characters' power curves are changing. It's like, so what does that mean for the game exactly?
So, gut take. Say they don't touch Red Skull 2 at all. And he stays exactly as it is. He is both a gainer and one of the most consistent damage output 5s in the game. Do you think this hit point changes are good, bad, or neutral for him?
Well, does he get hit point changes? Right? Because he's one of those characters where I could see potentially getting hit point change because of like the shield buff, because he can't change in reactions. Like, wow, right? Like there's so many
cool model.
Here's the reason why. Fury is the one that throws me off because Fury got the health buff. I'm like, well, wait a second. It's not like Fury is bad.
Red Skull's a leader. You got to protect your leaders, right?
I was like, it's not like Red Skull has crazy defenses, right? That's not what's going on. Like, he has situational defense stuff going on. So I could see him actually getting a health buff. Like, weirdly, just getting punched, right? You're like, oh, that's so spicy.
Dude, we might be like, there might be people literally like breaking their phones right now at the thought of Red Skull 2 getting buffed. They're like, there's literally like $1,200 Android devices that are just getting broken over people's knees.
Yeah, like just
fuck this, Danny. Damn it. Well, there are so having nightmares about
2
more hit point Red Skull 2.
Is a 7/6. Fury, who's a 4th rit, is a 7/6.
I know.
And it's like,
you're not wrong.
That looks bad, right? Red Skull.
You're not wrong, dude. I like what you're saying makes sense to me. I just feel like I think
this might change. I'm really curious how these health changes actually affect things, because I think it may have some very interesting effects, essentially.
Yeah. Well, right. It's a thing that we talked about with the source extracts, right? Where the goal of not letting people run away with extracts is to be like, we're encouraging more fighting and more engagement.
Yes.
But what we've seen a lot locally, and I've seen people complaining about, is you're like, well, it actually seems like even less attacks are being made because more people are just doing movements,
stealing,
to grab extract, move away.
So there's actually goofy right now. Walking, grabbing someone else, and walking back and be like, do you want to walk to me?
Right. It's sort of like what you're actually created was, well, what if every long mover was a steal character? Had steal for 1, no action. Right? Like, that's sort of the situation where you're like, every character can walk up, steal, walk away. Mm-hmm. And like, that was considered busted, right? Like, that's why we nerfed Black Cat. I say we, like I had any part in it. But like, you know, that's the sort of thing we're talking about. Like, in theory, you thought this would make more attacks, and it might be like less attacks. But
yeah, so that's like my internal fear of how this could play out. I have to imagine that it's not purely health buffs, that there's also rules changes along with it.
Yeah.
They had that sort of consideration.
Well, they've said some stuff, right? Like they said, didn't they say something like OG Hulk is going to be the only character who has no flip side?
Yeah, like they mentioned a couple of things, but it's also hard to know because it's happened a couple times where they've mentioned things and they didn't show up in erratas. So
right.
it
Like,
happens. Yeah,
Will said something. He's thinking about 3 potential erratas earlier
Yeah.
that didn't actually come to pass, so we don't really know. But I just mean that they've talked about some things that are definitely outside the just general health changes.
So I think that is what I'm most interested in, or what those other changes look like. In general, I just want to encourage more killiness because you just have like Red Deck wins effect. That's what really comes down to it. And then everyone just goes into just, kill everyone mode.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get the like, hey, like, there's just like a really shitty feeling when you're like, I feel like I'm executing a perfect game plan and they spike and like perfectly kill your character. And you're like, I don't think I should have died to one attack. I was full health. And so like, there's an element of like, all I had to do was live through 1 5-dice attack. And so I definitely think like the concept of more survivability is potentially a good thing. And then also potentially having it on your flip side, so you're like not as worried about just like immediately losing the character. But
it makes me wonder, like the Mash the Mold card, a couple of things that they're trying to shift the game length, right? So like,
see that now, I think that's a bad idea, and I don't think that's what this accomplishes. I think from a tournament organizer perspective, we want the games to wrap completely in that hour and a half to hour or 45-minute window. I don't think we want to extend the length of games. I think if we're doing things to speed up the early part of the game, great. I don't mind. I think round 4s and round 5s are super interesting in general. But I don't want the game. Also, having played AOS recently, 3-hour games are a fucking lot. Yeah. I really don't want to push that direction with my skirmish game. The fact that an army game is wrapping in like 3 hours and we're taking pretty close to 2 on some of these is kind of nutter butters.
Yeah.
So I don't want the game to go longer, but I think there's an element with like characters living that things like score out just a little bit faster in theory.
That's the flip side, is that you have characters holding extracts, you don't die as quickly, or they're able to survive on one, or able to punch back and that. And so the problem is that it's so many characters at once. All you can really go with are trends, right? Instead of calling out individuals, you're like, okay, what is the overall design goal here? And did we accomplish that? And so as a design goal for this whole thing, like if you're upping health, you invariably have to be lowering time to kill, right? Because you're giving people health, so it takes more to kill, which means time to kill goes up, right?
Yeah. I have wondered. Yeah, I don't know if I want to get into that question. Maybe I'll ask that in the question of the bonus episode. Wrapping thoughts on, do we think, like, what sort of system do we like? In general, I think a 1 year, like, errata touch-ups is right in the range of what I like. I think I wouldn't mind 6-month small touches, more of like, kind of like, we have a planned emergency patch for anything that we feel like really needs to change the meta at 6 months, but it's intentionally small. This would be something we're not, maybe you plan like a couple of key characters where you're like, let's try to spice things up and just make a couple of characters or something, bring them into the meta to rival some of the top choices, and then like lightly touch if there's things that are kind of sitting at the top, and then you have like a real errata at the year mark. I think that's where my gut is of what I like, which is pretty close to what AMG is doing. What are your closing thoughts on like where do you want the errata to be?
Yeah, I think some people, I just wanted to address this, talk about like a banner restricted list, right? For like the intermediate. So like, hey, how do you like stop a model from being egregious right now? The issue with that model is that you don't get playtest data.
Yes.
Because a lot of times you'll get the immediate, nope, this isn't happening. We're not getting played. It's not happening. It's like, well, then how do you really know? Like to be fair, you can get a lot of sense for things, but you also get counters and how good stuff is by playing it, especially at bigger events and getting data, right? And getting feedback and not just hearsay. Essentially, I don't think it works, right? I think it necessarily works at larger events where, like, that would work with the yearly events you're going through, and it's been a year. You're like, okay, people have played this enough. We have a good idea. Now we're putting bans and kind of going through. It's hard when you have, like, new models coming in, like, oh, it's getting banned because it's new and it's broken. It's like, well, that's not how ban and restrict is supposed to work, right? That's not how it's supposed to be used as a club for nerfing things. So what I'm saying, I'm arguing against those lists, that I think you sort of play all in. But I think as that tool and getting through is that I feel like addressing or communications about certain models or the, like, I don't necessarily want them to announce like, hey, we're going to like fix this model a certain way before, really like narrowing down on design, because I don't think it's really fair to them. But I think, like they have to address it in some way. You get the whole perception of essentially not caring about the situation.
Yeah.
The easiest way to go through.
All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up the main episode here. I'm excited to run Danny through a Patreon episode of just me wanting to continue our fucking armchair game design, because we think we're smart at this, and that is probably not the name.
So
yeah. I am Omnus, also known as IR Smart Like Paper, and yeah. Danny, do you think we do some move, throw adjustments to close out the cast? Move, my throw should cost 2.
My oven throws, right? I'm hurting myself here. But I'm just very curious where this all kind of goes through and how things sort of settle either way. Because I'm sure we as players will sort of figure out and play new things. But I think this has happened like twice now to me, where it's happened for WTC, where things got updated before we played, and then for squad goals, things got updated before we played.
You're cursed.
Bad feeling, right? I guess that's really my cursed spot, where it feels bad to be preparing for an event and things change underneath you, because it's not like you could have done anything, and it really hurts when you don't know that ahead of time, right?
Yeah. So, well, plus side is, I think this is like a good spot. There isn't a lot of we're not right in the middle of anything crazy on the horizon. So I think July is actually going to be a good month overall, if that's when they go to do this. I dig the timing, and thank you to everyone at AMG who has put so much effort into whatever this errata ends up being, and we are excited to try it out. So. Moo throw, baby. Later, nerds.
What would you prefer? Yellow spandex